got a number of good Cowboy stories here. Something the Cowboys are the absolute best at in the entire National Football League. What is it, guys?
Signing guys to big contracts off of relatively big injuries.
Yes, that is true. But this article is about something else they're the best at.
Drafting?
Specifically?
Signing free agents after the draft.
Drafting offensive linemen in the first round.
Okay, you're kind of hitting it here. Drafting in the first round period.
Okay.
This is Dan Rogers blogging the boys who linked to an article from Pro Football Focus who identified the Cowboys as the best in the last 10 years at drafting in the first round period. Guess how many of their 10 picks have become all pros?
7.
Yes.
Really?
Nailed it.
Yeah. Oh, let's go.
Taco and Mozzie are the only that haven't, and then the 2019 pick they used for Amari Cooper.
Okay.
So, which was a pretty dang good use of that pick. They've actually absolutely been dominating, and I think that's important. I guess Brian, one way of looking at that should be how do they get more first round picks?
Yeah.
Should they trade back into the first round more often? I think another one is focusing on clearly what is their edge, which is drafting offensive players. They're not quite as good at drafting defensive players in the first round.
I saw Katie Drummond, and I didn't know if it was a true story or not. Did you see what he was posting about how you trade Dak and what you get for him for that?
I did not see that.
His rationale was like, if you're not going to sign him or, instead of just getting a compensatory 3, just take advantage of it. He had a plan of, and again, it's just a story. It's what you do this time of year. He's not talking about, but it was a haul very similar to what the Lions got for Matthew Stafford. When you start to talk about, first round, second round, third round, another first, and then another second, so that type of a haul. He actually had a deal too where they traded CeeDee Lamb was another one. They were just putting it out there. So if you're not going to sign these guys, you might as well get something for them. I mean, I think they're going to sign both players. But
yes.
But if he's putting it out there that like, listen, if you're not going to do it, then
agreed,
get something for him.
Yeah, I think the only player it really makes sense to trade.
But that's how you get your extra first round pick.
Yeah, and I think that'd be genius. I mean, if you could get 2 1s for Dak,
you get 1 this year and then 1 next, and
that'd be great.
And then you pick up like a 2 and a 3 as another thing. So.
And again, I do believe Dak is a damn good player. He's one of the best pro athletes in the world. It's just that team building is broken in the NFL when it comes to quarterbacks, and it's a trap to pay your guy because agents have done such a good job leveraging the scarcity of the asset to scare owners into giving them way, way more than makes sense for winning a Super Bowl. Like if you want to win a Super Bowl, you could pay a guy like Dak $25 million. If you got a guy like Mahomes, he can count like 40 against the cap. But even for a guy like Mahomes, if they don't carefully manage his cap number, they end up building a roster that's not good enough and is just full of flaws. But they understand in Kansas City exactly where that line is, and the Cowboys just aren't good at building around a quarterback, whether it's Romo or Dak. So I say we got to get guys on their rookie deal and, more first-round picks. Plus, you give this team more first-round picks and you give this team an extra $50 million at cap space to deal with, they're going to build one hell of a roster. Scouting the players, finding the players isn't a problem.
Not at all.
Okay, up next here in the CNOTE Cowboys news of the evening. Got this Jeremy Fowler guy reporting that the Cowboys and runner Zeke have mutual interest in a reunion. That was the TV report Saturday night, I think. Ryan, what have you heard about that since then?
Yeah, I reached out to a couple of different people in the organization, and what I was told was they were just talking about it right now. There wasn't anything of, like, we're going to make this happen. We'll see. They if they're going to do it, they likely, like I mentioned earlier, are going to wait till after the compensatory waiting period, goes past, where you can sign guys without affecting your compensatory picks and stuff like that. So, but they were talking about it. That's what I heard.
I'd love to have him here. I think he's good for the vibes. He's good for chemistry. On top of that, if you do draft an absolute superstar running back, I think you don't want to burn him out with 400 touches his rookie year.
No,
this will help you put Zeke in passing downs. Put Zeke in short yardage. Hopefully, preserve the career a little bit if you do happen to hit on a star runner.
I think at this stage of his career, and really I'm indifferent if they were to do this or not. I think that Zeke's probably very ready to mentor a young back, and maybe this would just be it. You know, like, this is the last ride. He loves it here in Dallas, loves the locker room. Brian, you were talking about having a good back and pass protection. We know Zeke, that's still something that is probably his best attribute, and having a nose for the end zone. So to me, it makes a lot of sense from a Cowboys standpoint to why that probably is going to happen. I almost expect it to.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of with you as well. I'm indifferent to it. It would be cool, but, you know, I mean, last year he played 1 year and $3 million. So I do think this is realistic.
Yeah.
You know, if you continue to trim that number down, there might be a number where the Cowboys are actually interested.
Like veteran minimum. And I think that Zeke is probably open to that.
I think that's exactly the path that they're going to take. I think that's, you know, take that $3 million, cut that thing in half.
I think the biggest question here is, would Zeke want to keep playing for the fun of it with his bros, even if the money is tiny?
And I think the answer is yes. And the Cowboys are still paying him money right now.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously set up in a beautiful way, but he can be choosy. I mean, he's made enough money to where if he doesn't want to do it, but he was willing. I know it's $3 million, but like for him, it's not like he was breaking the bank, and he was willing to go up to Foxborough and play for Belichick and play for a crap team and play in the cold and do all that kind of stuff because he clearly still wanted to play. Yeah. So I would guess he still has the desire to play, and especially coming back here, knowing what his role is going to be, probably not going to get beat up in a huge way kind of deal. There will be a specialized role for him. I could absolutely see him wanting to do that, but I mean that because these professional athletes, they want to go to the wheels fall off, dude. They're not like you and me. We'd look there and go, we got plenty of quiche. You won't see me again.
Yeah, and he enjoys the physicality. You know, some guys want nothing to do with it. You know, Zeke is just full-on football player, like linebacker mentality.
Yeah.
He's built for it. You know, he hasn't worn down due to the injuries. Maybe he's gotten slower, but it's not like it actually broke his body.
And from a business standpoint, I mean, if he does rock the 15 jersey, you sell a lot more of those.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be tough for Zeke superfans to see him at an older age, even slower than the last time we saw him, which I'm not sure he could break 4.7 speed at that point, but it does make sense for a lot of reasons, and the guys absolutely love having him around. Like, if you are going through a little bit of a rebuild, Zeke will at least make your locker room a more upbeat place to be, I think. Okay, we go here to the Landry hat, and you're looking at 3 Cowboys stars who could follow Dak out the door in 2025. Wow, 3 stars. Let's see what they do here. By the way, they did point out, this was another one over the weekend, Josina Anderson contradicting Ian Rappaport's story about a Dak extension, saying a deal could happen as soon as before next season. That sounds more like, Brian, what you were thinking about.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where I think she's on to something here.
Okay.
Yeah.
First player on this list, stars that could be gone after the 2024 season, Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
I would really struggle to see him back for 2025. How much of a loss that is, I think it's significant when you start to look at this wide receiver room. Now it's CeeDee Lamb, and probably the future of the position is not on the roster, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
None of those young dudes that were around.
To me, the thing with Tolbert, I'm still kind of waiting. You know, I felt like the evaluation of him was, you know, there was quality work there, and you know, his first year he wasn't very good. Dealt with some injuries and stuff. Got a little bit better last year. Needs to, you know, we always focus on these guys from last year's draft. He needs to step up and play a little bit. This is a good opportunity in this draft to draft somebody that's better than him.
It is.
If you found a way to get even like in the 5th round.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's going to sound crazy that this thing might stretch that deep, but you could. I see Zach is nodding his head over there.
True.
When you start to stack your board, I'm looking at 5th round guys going, I'd rather have him than Tolbert. You know, that kind of that kind of player.
I wonder if Jordan Brooks, who they took in the 7th round last year at South Carolina, had some good plays in preseason.
Sure.
That's another guy that might leapfrog him on the depth chart this year.
Yeah.
Second player on this list is Tank.
I think you need to look at an edge here.
Yeah. Oh, in the draft.
Yeah.
He's going to count 20 against the cap this year.
Yeah.
7.5 for next year as they continue to sort through all of the extra cap hits that they've been delaying over the last 2 or 3 years. they're choosing this year to just bite the bullet on a lot of those. It's not only Dak, but tank at $20 million. Whew, that's tough. And then Zach Martin could be gone in 2025. His contract got reworked this month to clear $13 million in space, but it also creates quite a situation into the future. $26 million in dead money is what you're going to be looking at with Zach Martin by the end of this year. So do you want to post June 1 it and break it up, or, so that idea of why have the Cowboys not spent, as this thing goes on, more and more of these details are getting reported and talked about as far as the difficulty of their contracts and the dead money involved. You got to pick eventually a time to blow that out. And I think these are the 2 years that they're going to do it.
Yep.
And they never really went for it. That's the tougher part of it. I'm okay with getting to this point saying, all right, even though there's some idiots online that like to say the salary cap isn't real, it's not for any individual season or any individual player. You can do whatever you want, but eventually your spending is going to catch up with you in a way that forces a reckoning like the Cowboys are going through now. You just want your team to optimize that cycle instead of be a victim to it. And that's still where we are with these Cowboys.